Today we're going to be focusing on Overrun, a Roblox aviation movie that was released to West Plays almost a month ago. Now I know this movie isn't even 8 minutes long, but it just took so long to make and I think it deserves kind of a behind the scenes video like this. So let's get into it. After publishing Collision and having that get a few views, I figured it would be a good idea to make another film in PTFS. So only a few weeks after Collision's release, I set out to begin filming the new movie. Hey there, did you guys like my other few Roblox pilot training flight simulator movie thingies? Well, there's one in progress right now, coming to West. In case you didn't get that, that was a bad quality voiceover of me announcing the beginning of Overrun's production. And the video I said that in was uploaded on the 8th of May, which is almost 2 months before Overrun actually released. Well, it all began earlier. The beginning of the Overrun production was pretty rough, judging the fact that it was only me on 2 accounts, one being West's camera, and the other one being me. This is how the first few minutes of Overrun were filmed, and I couldn't have done it differently, since I only had around 160 subscribers at the time. I began in a public server, so I had the opportunity to ask a few players to help out with acting. Well, that's what I tried to do. I originally wanted some marshalers as the plane pushed back out of the hangar, but this kid just refused to do that and he wanted to actually fly the plane himself. I asked if I could trust him and he said yes. 2 seconds after I gave him the wheel, this happened. Yeah, this was obviously going nowhere. I discarded the idea of having a marshaller as the plane pushed back. In fact, I didn't even include the pushback part in the movie itself. And I continued filming. I got up to the part of the film where boarding was about to happen when I just stopped editing and filming for a while. The film didn't seem too great so far, and I really didn't see this film turning out successful with basically just me producing it. I began and completed editing and filming Collision in just under a week, and it was not the case with Overrun. April was already ending, and Overrun was going nowhere. I decided I should put the project on hold and maybe even redo it later. Over the month of May, I'd created a Discord server, and it gained quite a few members. With around 300 or 400 subscribers, the idea of potentially completing Overrun came to my head. Judging the fact that our recent Typical Day at Perth International video did pretty good, I figured we'd be able to pull off something like Overrun. I announced that we were doing a film session in the Discord server and got quite a few people in. Now we'd be able to make a proper boarding scene with more than one actor. If we can keep this up, I'd be the one recording all the scenes and my fans would be the actors. With that covered, let's talk about this. I don't know how many times I have to remind some of you or mention in the video, but PTFS does not have a pushback tug as of making this. So in this case, we used a stair truck. Now I think it would have been a better option to just not use anything as a pushback tug, but next time I probably just won't include a pushback scene at all to prevent this. Anyways, with the pushback and takeoff scene dealt with, it was time to film the scene from inside the plane. Since planes in PTFS don't have detailed cabins, I decided to use a whole separate game for those scenes. That's what we did. I've been in this game years ago, back in my day when I owned another channel. Let's go inside the engine. Oh, I fell. Okay, we're gonna start this, guys. So, wait, I could just go in third person and zoom out and I'm behind the door. Oh, yeah, it's nighttime. That's bad. Someone just walked in, looked around, and walked back. They're probably thinking, why is there so many people sitting in one spot? All the AV geeks are gonna be like, that's not a 767 cockpit. Once we were out of that game, we were back in PTFS to film the actual overrunning scene. These scenes were probably the hardest to film out of all the scenes in the whole movie because we had to overrun multiple different times so I can get different angles. Most of the shots didn't even work out, but we'll get to those later. To remind us of the first movie, which was Collision, I thought it would be pretty cool to have the retired pilot person in the airport, somehow, watching over the mess of a plane he used to operate, then ending the entire movie by saying the phrase, "That's a lot of damage." Which was the same way Collision ended, with the KLM pilot. But that wasn't the complete end of the movie. Some of you might have been wondering what the hospital scene was all about. Well, this is also supposed to bring us back to Collision, because if you look closely, you can make out the YouTube hoodie the main passenger from Collision was wearing. That's all that's going to be said for now. I'm also going to mention that we stayed in this hospital roleplay game way longer than we should have. Oh yeah, let's be in this room. Okay, move, or else we're going somewhere else. Oh, there's another room like this. Don't go until I say. It's very weird with a pillow on top of my head. So yeah, we were just vibing in there. Being chased by a PTFS mod with the needle. No big deal. Now all of that was filmed in May. 2 long afternoons of just filming. Since then, the channel has gained thousands of subscribers, but the movie still hasn't been released. Instead, I was working on the usual uploads, which would come out every few days, keeping me relatively busy. Half of why I wasn't editing it was because 1, I was just feeling a little lazy, and 2, I just didn't feel like editing it. I just didn't really feel like it was worth it or something, I don't know. Late June, after being urged by literally everyone who helped film, I came back to the movie, and slowly but surely, I was making progress. I called out a few people and we redid and added a few more scenes, and basically redid most of the overrunning scene. And finally, I was done. I was genuinely disappointed about the length of the film, would have wanted it to be a little longer after all the months we spent on it, but I released a trailer and published the movie a few days later. Now it's currently the 3rd most popular video on my whole channel, which is pretty impressive. Well, there we have it, the making of Overrun. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I would also like to thank everyone who helped make Overrun. Now I'm sorry that the behind the scenes video is the same length or if not longer than the actual film, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. With that said, thanks again for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next video.